And I think in a few laps' time, we could have an absolutely riveting battle. There's the gap, 18.1 seconds. But as I told you, we think that gap is coming down by 4 seconds a lap. So in 5 laps' time, as we watch Jacky Rosberg through the Casino Square, there is Elio De Angelis, who's also pressing on in 6th place. But in about 5 laps' time, we could see a battle for the lead, and a few laps after that, we could see a 3-car battle for the lead. Alain Prost through Rascasse once again, and the rain is redoubled. It's really starting to rain harder than ever. On our commentary point down by Rascasse, it's almost impossible to see across the harbour, and the rain bucketing down now. Look at the water pouring off the wheels of the leading McLaren. To Portiere for Alain Prost, looking for grip all the time through these puddles. Still the yellow flag because 2 cars parked there, and you see the gap now down to 15.3 seconds. So it's coming down between 3 and 4 seconds a lap. There's the Ferrari of Alboreto catching Prost, although he's a lap behind. Prost through the chicane, still very close to the barrier as he comes out. And look at this weather. It's raining very, very hard down here on the waterfront. And the visibility must be pretty bad for Alain Prost, even though he's got nobody in front of him. But if you're following a car, you really can't see anything at all. Prost down into Rascasse. A slow, cautious gear change as he feeds the gear lever through down into bottom gear, gently on the power. And the rain bouncing off the road once more. It's raining very, very hard indeed. Prost comes across the start-finish line, glances at his pit, through the relentless rain. Oh, and he's waving as he goes over the start-finish line. Alain Prost waved at the officials who were standing at the start-finish line. Alain Prost clearly waving at the officials, saying, "You've got to stop this race." Obviously, Alain Prost believes that conditions are becoming simply impossible. And as he goes up the hill, plumes of spray. The Ferrari of Alboreto has closed right up to him. Alain Prost now very gently through the rivers of water that are running across the Casino Square. Down the hill he goes. Alain Prost down into the Mirabeau, and he clearly is angry about the race still taking place. He obviously thinks that it ought to be stopped. Now, Ayrton Senna will not agree with him, because Ayrton Senna is still charging through this weather and making up road visibly every single lap, as indeed is third man S.Bellof, who's probably going faster than either of them. Alboreto in 7th place. Into the tunnel, Prost is able to put a little bit of spurt on as he gets out of the weather briefly, but out of the tunnel once more. On the long run down to the chicane, the McLaren slows once more. Coming up now to complete 31 laps for Prost, 30 for Alboreto. This race just 1 hour old, so average speed must be barely 60 miles an hour, and they're obviously going a lot slower. And Alboreto is right there with the leader as they go through Saint-Devote on up the hill, and Ayrton Senna is closing. There's the blue flag there being given for the leader to tell him that he's got Alboreto just behind him. He'll know all about that, but I don't think he's necessarily going to wave Alboreto by. He just wants to concentrate on getting this McLaren round the circuit. Oh, very slow into the Casino Square, and Prost has decided that he must drive to stay on the road and not necessarily defend this lead. Into the Mirabeau goes Prost, and Senna is already out of Casino Square and coming down to Mirabeau. There is Senna out of Mirabeau as out of the Lowe's hairpin goes the McLaren, into the Lowe's hairpin goes the white Tolman, and Alain Prost's lead looking really threatened now. What is Prost going to do? Is he going to just keep this pace up, or is he going to defend the lead from Ayrton Senna? Into the tunnel, once again a brief spurt for the McLaren, pulls away from the Ferrari. There is the Tolman, there. So Ayrton Senna closing all the time in the chicane. Once more, almost brushing that barrier, goes McLaren number 7. The Ferrari of Alboreto is between the two of them, so that's going to give Senna a bit of a problem, because he's got to pass and lap Alboreto before he can take up the cudgels and battle with the leading McLaren. And I think Prost, in fact, has briefly pulled out, but no, look, Senna is right up with the Ferrari now. Senna is up with the Ferrari. This is now down on the waterfront, where the weather is absolutely at its wettest. It's murky, it's thick, it's wet, it's flooded. The marshals wave their hands, and there's a black flag. We've got a black flag here. There's a black flag at the gasworks hairpin. Senna goes past Alboreto. There's a red flag, there's a checkered flag. The race is being stopped. The black flag was to indicate that the race was going to be stopped. Prost had seen it. Senna goes on his way. He doesn't want to stop racing. Alboreto comes slowly by, and Alain Prost, I'm sure, is very, very relieved indeed. The marshals, the race officials, obviously decided that the conditions had simply become impossible. So the race has been stopped after 32 laps had been completed. They'll take the official order at the end of the previous lap. That's what the rules say. So a 31-lap Monaco Grand Prix. Alain Prost is going to be the winner. Ayrton Senna will be second, S.Bellof will be third, the rest of the field coming home with René Arnoux fourth, fifth Keke Rosberg, sixth Elio De Angelis, and because less than two-thirds distance have been run, that's only going to be half championship points. Ayrton Senna still on his way. There's Ayrton Senna at the Lowe's hairpin. And there is S.Bellof, who I'm sure also wants to keep racing. A little wave there at the marshals, who are clapping his progress. So in his first Monaco Grand Prix, Ayrton Senna is second. In his first Monaco Grand Prix, S.Bellof is third. And Alain Prost, the professeur, the ever-professional, ever-tidy, ever-organised driver, it's all come right for him. He started from pole position. He was going slower and slower at the end, but the race was stopped in the nick of time. I suppose one can't argue with the organisers' decision. You only have to look at the waterlogged track to realise it was a wise thing to do, but I guess that Ayrton Senna could have done with another 4 or 5 laps to get to grips with Alain Prost.
I think it was a difficult decision to start the race, but we spoke about with some drivers, but do not start the race. But because of the tunnel was too slippery, and the organization did some job through the tunnel to put some water, and it was a bit better for start. So we decided to start, and I think the decision to stop the race was very good, was very safe. And I think it's a very good decision, and it's a very good race, even if it's half distance.
And it's your 12th victory. How does this compare with the other 11 before? Was it better or as good, or what do you think?
For sure, it's the most difficult, and I think I did one of the best races I've never did before. I did the best pole position I've never did, and that helped me a lot today, because I did a good start also. And I'm very happy to win here, because last year and 2 years ago I had to win this race, and I'm very happy not only for this race today, but for the championship.
Just in the laps before the race was finally stopped, Ayrton Senna was catching you very quickly, but do you think that you could have held him off, or was he going so quickly that he would be passing you?
He was much quicker than me, but the track was so slippery, so dangerous, that I decided to go very slowly. I had some problem with the brakes, and when I've seen that Senna was behind me, he's not current for the championship. He has no point at the moment, so I have already decided that if he was just behind me, I let him pass. It was much better for me to get some points for the championship and do not win the race.
The demoralizing situation for every team in Grand Prix racing today is that your car was on pole position, and having Marlboro McLarens dominate 1984, it looks like they can do so in the remaining races, including the next 3 in North America.
I think we improved a lot the car for this race, and it was a good surprise for me to be in pole position, and it's a good surprise to win this race. We did not plan to win this race before, and 4 wins in 5 wins in 6 races, it's unbelievable. And I think for the North American race, and we are going to be in a good shape anyway, that's sure now. And we're in a good shape for the championship, because when we come back in Europe, I think we have some very nice track, very quick, and where we can be very, very good, I mean.
So, with only half points, Alain Prost gets 4.5 for his win, and he's now 10.5 points ahead of Niki Lauda, who didn't score. René Arnoux now consolidates his third place, 1.5 points ahead of Derek Warwick. De Angelis now 5th.